Welcome to As I Live and Grieve, a podcast that tells the truth about how hard this is. We're glad you joined us today. We know how hard it is to lose someone you love and how well-intentioned friends and family try so hard to comfort us. We created this podcast to provide you with comfort, knowledge, and support. We are grief advocates, not professionals, not licensed therapists. We are you.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to As I Live and Grieve. You always hear me say we have a very special guest. Well, today's no different. Our guest today is Coleen. She's from Texas, and I'm going to let her share a little bit of her background. Hi, Coleen, and welcome.
Kathy, hello. Oh, I can't even tell you how excited I've been to sit with you. Thank you. Thank you for letting me share my story here for a second, too. You know, I was thinking about as you were kicking us off that I've got to tell you, I've got to actually say this number to you that I have now been in death care for almost 35 years.
Wow.
And since I'm only 38, you all can do the math as to when I started, right?
Amazing.
3 years old.
That's
I started
great.
this, and that's between all of us here. All right. So I started in the human death care industry, actually doing pre-planning. You and I just had a little tiny discussion right before we kicked off on pre-planning services, and I found it so heartwarming to talk to people about how their final crescendo on this earth was going to look, how their final party was going to look, and it was just so heartwarming. But on the other side of my heart was this little pup, was this little crazy pup. I always say I don't have skin children. I've got fur children. So she was my child. And as we were approaching the end of her time with me, her physical time here on earth, I started to look around to find those funeral homes because I was so deeply, involved in how we cared for humans when people died. So I started looking around and I said, where are those locations that handle people and pets like I know we handle people with people? And I didn't really find what I believed it should look like. And so I started the first standalone pet funeral home in the country almost 20 years ago. And ever since then, I get up dark early in the morning, and the first thing I think about is what can I do to help grieving pet parents? What can I do to help grieving pet parents? And for the past 20 years, I've helped people start pet funeral homes. I've helped people rebrand pet funeral homes. I'm actively involved, which I can't wait to talk to you about this, with the International Association for Animal Hospice and Palliative Care. So very involved with that group of professionals. Can't wait to talk to you about all the things that we can do in the final walk, because Kathy, whether it's the things that we can do in the final walk or even on that day, that one day, and that time around that, here's what I want for our loving pet parents. I want them to be able to look themselves in the mirror, and I want them to be able to say the end was perfect. It was perfect. I don't have a regret. I did everything to crescendo the life and love we shared on this earthly planet, and I did everything. I don't have a regret. And for all of our listeners on here, that's what I want for you. And I know the next X amount of time that you and I are going to spend together today, I want to share some ideas. I want to, for everybody driving to work today, and maybe you've got a child in the back seat, or, going to your work or school, wherever you're going, I want to give you an aha moment. I want to give you some things that in all the hundreds of thousands of families I've walked with in this journey, I want to share some stories that are going to make you go, aw. And then I want to share some things that are going to make you go, uh-huh, I'm going to do that. And so here I sit today. I'm not in the day-to-day of operating in a pet funeral home anymore. Just sold my last operation I started. And with that, we were helping around 120,000 families across the U.S. a year. And now my third book just hit the market, and I get to do some interesting things like what you and I are doing, Kathy, in really spreading the word to help these loving pet parents with this one win of loving an amazing creature. And that's what I do.
Oh my gosh. You have said so many things that have already made me go, really? Really? Now, when I first was researching you, when we were first connected, I saw you were called a pet pioneer, and I thought to myself, well, I wonder why that is. Now I know. Not only did you have the first standalone pet funeral home, But really, international hospice for our pets? That's incredible. I can't wait to hear more about it. Wow.
It's an amazing
It's
group.
absolutely amazing. Now, until I met you, connected with you, I never even knew that there were pet funeral homes. There are certainly none that I know of in my area, and we're a pretty solid metropolitan. Is this primarily something that's relegated to maybe the southern part of the United States or something, or are they all over?
You know, they're all over, Kathy, but I want you to think about this. And even in human loss, okay, as I've said 1,000 times when I do my teaching and my speaking, we don't wake up on a bright, sunshiny morning and say, it's so beautiful, I'm going to go get educated on my death
That's
care
very
options.
true. Right.
Right? We just don't do that. So when you look at the pet loss facilities, let's just call it that, when you look at the pet loss facilities that are in your area, many of them do have the option of coming in and saying a final goodbye, a little visitation room. Many of them have the resources that we need. Many of them have, you know, the let's just say we want to view a cremation. We want to witness a cremation of our pet because that's important to us, maybe from a religious perspective or that's just how our culture does it. So many things, but we don't make the phone call. We don't call them and say, what are my options? What can I do? I've got a lot of people around the world that say, Coleen, I want to do these things. And I say, when you call your local facility, then I want you to ask these questions. Because here's what I want, Kathy. I don't want us to have an operation that assists us with this final act of love, with the cremation or even the burial of our precious little creature. And then in our head, we have questions. What actually happened? Is this actually my pet? How did they treat him when he was in their care? I don't want those questions. I want you to know all the answers before that happens, because I want you as a loving pet parent to have the peace of mind of being able to say, you know what? Where he went for his final arrangements, they treated him exactly as I treated him. His precious little vessel of a body was given the same dignity and respect that I gave him. And that is a peace of mind. I want to close my eyes and I want to say it was all done as exactly as it should be. We don't want to have this fear of the unknown and have this anxiousness because I don't know the answer to the question. So here's what I'm going to tell you, people. Ask the question. Don't fear it. And here's my other thing. When you ask the question, if you don't like the answer, request something different or go somewhere different. We've got a lot of options out there, a lot of options. And so turn to those options. The other thing that, since I'm on a soapbox now, man, you got me on a soapbox already.
You step up there.
I'm going to get up and take this one. Here's a big thing that I want everybody to know on this call. That precious animal is yours, okay? And here's where I'm about to go with this. Let's just say that the day comes and we are at a vet clinic, okay? And it's the time. That little creature is yours. And what I want you to do, this is where I really pound my fist, because the power of what I'm about to tell you, I've heard from so many families, and I'm talking thousands, not one, not two, not 100. I'm talking thousands who have come back to me and said, Coleen, thank you for telling me to do that, because I never even thought I should do that. And it was the best gift I could have gotten. And here's the gift. I want you to take that precious creature home with you. And I want you to have a home visitation with him. And I want you to allow the other animals in the house the opportunity to say their goodbye. I want you to slow the roll a little bit. And in the beautiful words of my mentor, Dr. Alan Wolfeld, I want you to take this time with this beautiful deceased pet. And I want you to get together as a family. And I want you to back up and say hello as you prepare to say goodbye. I want you to sit around this creature. And I want you to say, what do you remember about the day he came home? Does anybody remember how he got that nickname? What are we going to miss most? What lessons did we learn? And I want you to have some private family time. And then I want you to be ready to move forward with final arrangements. Slow the roll. Slow the roll. There's no reason we have to have frantic movement forward. No reason. And every family that I have pushed just a little bit and said, please do this. I know you'll thank me. And every one of them has come back and said, thank you for telling me to do that. And as a parent, let's talk about this for a second, Kathy. As a parent, what a beautiful time to have a beautiful conversation about death and loss, and with our pets, the human-animal bond, and the love we had and the love we shared. And what a beautiful opportunity to say, tears are welcome here. Tears are welcome here.
That's beautiful.
Let's do this. Let's lean in together.
Absolutely beautiful, and something I would never have thought to do.
Yeah. It's the most, I've got pictures of every one of my pets that have come home. And let me tell you what happens. You know, when that time comes, whether it's in an emergency or it's planned, okay?
Yeah.
Animals make us so routine. We get up in the morning, and what's the first thing we do? We go to potty and we feed.
Yeah.
Right? We're routine.
Yes,
it's all routine.
I laugh. Yes.
Yeah, that's a part of the grief journey, right? Because that routine gets interrupted, and so there's nothing more healing. I speak from personal experience and also from professional experience, to wake up in the morning and he's still there. He's still there. And we get to still, my little Crisco, I moved him from room to room to room as he did in life. Mm-hmm. And we did it for 2 days after he died.
Oh my goodness.
And when it came time to go for his final arrangements of cremation, hopefully he just heard me breathe.
I did. I
had caught my breath and I said, am I over it? No. But I've taken my time. And I've said my words, whether it was my I'm sorry's, my I love yous, whatever it was, I said those words to him. We had that time together. My dog and my cat that were still here and are still here. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know what I love about animals? Albert and Rudy had no use for Crisco. None. Because Crisco was an awful dog. He was awful.
Of course.
But you know what they did?
What?
He was awful. I can still see it. We're sitting outside. Crisco's deceased body, all 8 pounds of him, is lying in his little bed. And that dog and that cat sat and held vigil.
Oh, my gosh.
They sat there and they held vigil.
Oh, my.
And it gave everybody this time. Think about animals. Let's go to animals for a second. Man, I can't tell you how many times I get phone calls from people who say, you know, we had to take Sheba to the vet and have her put to sleep. And now the other dog at home is, you know, every time he hears a car go by, he runs to the door.
Separation anxiety, just like people when they grieve.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, and they don't know. They're like, well, you loaded him up in the car and you took him away. Is he back? Is he home? Is she home? Where's she at? And so when animals do things with their noses, we bring that deceased pet home. We let all the animals smell that this has happened. Mm-hmm. Animals go through their mourning. I can't tell you all the things I've seen visually of animals who are grieving and mourning. And so we've got to give them the opportunity too. Got to give them that. And it's the most beautiful time.
I'll bet.
Can't even tell you how beautiful.
Oh my gosh.
Beautiful.
Wow. So many questions. So I'll start with this first one. If someone decides to do that, they go to the vet and their animal must be euthanized, and they bring the dead body back of their pet. How does this work in a household where there are children? And this may be the first time that children, I mean, maybe they've had a dead goldfish or something like that, but obviously, you know, a dog or a cat or even a bird, a pet bird maybe would be something that you would interact with more. How do children deal with something like this?
You know, I'm going to answer your question with a story, Kathy.
Good.
So we had a little pup here in my neighborhood, Tiny. And Tiny didn't fare so well with a coyote one day. And I got word through Tiny's mom where Tiny was at, and I got Tiny in my care from the city. So I had Tiny in my care, and Mom was doing organically what a mom would do. She's crying and she's saying, "Just deal with Tiny. Take Tiny. I got to figure out what to do with the kids." And I said, "Oh, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. I'm going to get Tiny fixed up. We're going to take Tiny to your house. I'm going to lie Tiny in state, and You're going to go in another room and you're going to tell the children what happened. And then you're going to tell the children, I've asked Miss Coleen to bring Tiny home, and Tiny's actually here. And we're going to pay our respects to Tiny. And here's what's going to happen. I want you to take special things out and lay it near Tiny. If you need to have a conversation with Tiny, I want you to go have your conversation. Tonight as a family, we're going to get together and we're going to have a memorial service. We're going to have a service tonight, and we're all going to be able to share our memories. And let's have this discussion about death and sadness and tears and grief and honoring the life and love we shared. Let's talk about that. And we're going to have Tiny here. And I got to tell you, Kathy, every time I go to take a baby into my care, a precious pet into my care after they've been at home with the family, whether it's a kitty cat who was covered in potato chips because that was his favorite treat, and that's exactly what I took into my care, or Tiny who had flowers and toys and food and stuff all over her body because they wanted her to have all those special things. It's the most beautiful, innocent, fabulous family time.
You're making me cry, Coleen.
It brings me to tears.
It sounds beautiful and is a very touching way to broach that subject with your children first. And they know then that they get a chance to remember and say goodbye and everything like that. What a beautiful, beautiful thing to do.
You know what I hear from parents that they hear from their children when we've gone to the clinic and did what we did and we left the pet there, or pets died at home, we waited till the children, went to school, then we took the pet away. You know what I hear from the parents that the children say to them? And I've said it. I did it with my childhood pets. Mom, but I didn't get to say goodbye.
Yeah.
I didn't get to say goodbye.
Yeah.
And so we've got, let's grieve healthy. That's what your podcast is all about.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. But why have we never thought to carry it over to our pets? You did. Oh, so glad you're here today.
So here's another question that I get, and this is a fair question, okay? How do I prepare the body? What will happen? And I know we're going to talk about my website and all that kind of stuff later. I actually created a piece that says, here's what you can do, how you can clean them up, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. So I've got all that. I got it for you. I got you taken care of on that. So I can help you.
Super. Okay, once the goodbyes have said, and just to the listeners, I've had to wipe my eyes here a few times. I find this so touching. And it brings me back to when I had to have my dogs put down and wishing that I could have done something like that, but I never thought about it. I wouldn't even have known to ask, wouldn't even have known that it was a possibility. At any rate, goodbyes have been said, and the body has been taken in to be cremated or everything. What are some options? I know when I went to the vet and had to have my dog euthanized, I was given the options of cremation, return the ashes to me, have him buried in a single grave, have him buried in a group grave, all with associated and differing prices. What are some other options if people want to do something themselves? I know they can take the ashes back, but what might be a special way that they could commemorate or remember this pet that gave them so many years of love?
And are you talking memorialization or rituals, Kathy? Because I want to make sure I answer the right way.
Maybe a little of both. Answer however you'd like.
Let's do a little of both.
Okay.
I'm gonna go rituals first.
Okay.
Because I want to unpack something you just said to me.
Okay.
And you made the comment to me, gosh, I didn't know I could have done that.
Right.
And now, man, I wish I would have done that.
Right.
And gosh darn it, I didn't do that.
Right.
Okay. What I always tell families is my conversation about that is not to make you feel guilty because you didn't do it.
Right.
My conversation is, here's what I believe for all of us as loving pet parents. We do the best thing at that time with the information we have.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yep.
That's all we can do.
Yep.
Now you've got new information. You've got different information. And so for the next one, you may do something different.
Right.
Okay? But let's talk about what's past. So it's past. Boy, you still have an opportunity to do a memorial service.
Sure.
You still have an opportunity to gather all your friends together and go do a bubble release. You still have an opportunity to get everybody together and have an until we meet again party. You still have an opportunity to do a fundraiser for the local shelter because that's where he came from and you want to support them. You still have a ton of things that you can do from a ritual perspective that says there is one more thing you can do, or maybe there's 6 more things you can do. There's still things you can do and gather everybody together. One of the things that I really talk about from the ritual perspective is the creation of what I call a tribute table. Okay. You know, when we go to a funeral, there's always a focal point, right? There's either a casket or there's the front with the urn and the picture, whatever it is, there's a focal point. Okay. When we lose our animals, there's not a focal point. So it's like, we don't know what to do with our hands. We don't know what to do with our hands. And so when we create this tribute table, it's the opportunity that everything that we knew and loved and remember about Buddy is on this tribute table. And I tell the kids, I say, whenever you think of something, put it there. And if you want to write a letter because you're having a little bit of a bad day, write a letter and put it there. But I want his treats and his cookies and his leash and I want it all on the tribute table. And that's your place to go. And then maybe this weekend or next weekend, we come together as a family and we go through everything on the tribute table and we tell our stories and we have a service. And it gives us the opportunity. I had one gentleman that did that with his kitty cat and how he ended his service, Kathy, wait for it, get your tissue. How he ended his service for his precious kitty cat Bingo is he washed his food dish and put it up in the cabinet. And he said, Bingo, be at peace. Be at peace, buddy. Be at peace. I'm with you. I'm tearing right now, too. It makes me cry every time. Okay, so we just did a little rituals, okay?
Yeah.
I could spend days with you on rituals. Man, some of them I've seen and done and conducted. Beautiful. Let's talk memorialization pieces, okay? There's so much you can do. All the way from, a necklace that may have a little bit of the ashes in it to I had one of my friends just post out. She had just gotten a ring made and there was a little bit of ashes behind a gem that was in the ring. You can turn ashes into a diamond. I've got a vet tech that I know of who, after every animal passes, she makes another diamond and it's her mother's ring. And it goes into her mother's ring. Oh my goodness. I've got a necklace that I wear that has my precious love's paw print on it. My husband has cufflinks that has every one of our animals, either a paw or a nose. Okay, pop quiz. Everybody driving right now, I want you to turn to whoever's in the car and I'm going to ask you this question. What is the significance of an animal's nose print? I'm going to give it 3 seconds. Discuss. Okay, here's the answer. Animal nose prints are like human thumbprints. There's no 2 noses alike.
Really?
Really. So all the little lines and all the things in the noses, that's their unique marking. And so my husband's got a couple of cufflinks that have, I can't remember which one of the dogs, but has their nose prints because he's like, I just want their big old noses on there.
Well, there's another aha moment.
There you go. I told you I was going to give you some of those. I've got a rock. I've got a little garden pond, and I've got a rock out there that says Harry's Pond, and it has his paw print on it, and it lays out there because after grooming, after I just paid down and groomed, he'd go stand in the muddy garden pond.
Of course.
So I just named it Harry's Pond.
Of course.
But beautiful urns and beautiful artwork where you can put the ashes and blow it into the blown glass. I got to tell you, you can shoot them into space. You can make coral reefs out of them. You can make diamonds. There is so many ways. But I want to give another one because people get all anxious when it comes to the topic of an urn. Okay. You know what I used to tell people? I said, I want you to think about what he loved. And I can't tell you how many people told me he was a chow hound. He was a chow hound. And so what I say to them is, I said, then turn his treat jar into your urn. That's all it needs to be. Turn his treat jar into the urn.
Yes.
Yeah. You know what my brother does? Can I tell you what my brother does?
Absolutely, sure.
So I grew up in farming country in western Kansas. They're hunters. We were hunters. He now hunts. I don't. But whenever he loses one of his hunting dogs, what he will do is he will wait till the end of pheasant season. he will load the ashes into the shells,
Yeah.
and him and all of his hunting buddies will do a final shot over the favorite hunting ground of that dog. And they do the shot, they stand there, they all have their moment of silence, and that's the tribute he does. Isn't that beautiful?
That is absolutely beautiful. So
touching.
Basically, well, until I heard about the shotgun shell, but everything before that, I have pretty much heard that you can do with humans. I mean,
yes.
These are all ways you can commemorate your spouse, your mother, your father, grandparent, whatever. Diamonds, the jewelry, the blown glass, everything like that. So you can do all of that. I mean, it doesn't really make a difference whether it's human ashes or pet ashes. You can
They're
still
all the same,
do it.
my dear. Yeah, they're all the same.
So why don't we?
I love that question, Kathy. Thank you for going there. You know why I believe we don't? I believe when we lose a pet, because we've heard the word disenfranchised grief, or the word disenfranchised grief, right? And I'm going to give you some things to think about that may be another aha for you. So 70% of the United States has a pet, 70%. 83% of the 70% refer to themselves as mommy and daddy.
Right.
Okay. So there's actually a difference between a pet owner and a pet parent.
Sure.
So there's their information. Now, here's what I find interesting. The rules of grieving a pet come from the 30%. And we as a pet lover fear being shamed by one of those 30%. What's the statement they say to us, Kathy? It's just a dog.
It's just a dog. It's just a cat.
Aren't you over it
yet?
Just
go get another one. Just go get another one.
You know what I say all the time? I do tons of speaking. I said, let me tell you something that I know didn't happen. As I stood by my mother at my father's casket, nobody came up to her and elbowed her and said, "Go and get another. You should get another. It'll make you feel better." Nobody did that.
You're absolutely right.
The 30% does it to us. The 30% does it to us because they don't get the human-animal bond. And so we're now taken down. We've been kicked in the gut because a precious little creature of ours has transitioned. We're kicked in the gut.
Right.
And then we have a friend who says, you seriously are going to have a funeral for that dog? Are you kidding me? And so we fear being shamed. And so the path of least resistance is to do nothing. And then we turn around and we say, darn it, I wish I'd have done something. I wish I'd have done. Yeah. So here's one takeaway on this for our listeners. I want you to find those people who get it. I want you to find those people who understand the human-animal bond and can respect it. Because right now, the ones that don't get it, I always tell everybody, put them in a little box and stick them up on the shelf for just a tiny bit until we're ready to get them off the shelf. But if they don't get it, if they didn't get it while the animal was alive, they're not going to get why you're grieving now. And they're just not a part of your healthy grief journey. Not at all.
Huh. You know what I think is the one thing that can override that cultural stigma, if you will? And that's if you're the parent and you're doing something for your child. If your child wants to do something special for your pet, you will do it regardless whether or not someone is going to say to you, it's only
okay,
a dog.
I'm going to springboard off of that one, Kathy. So another story. I love giving lessons in stories. So we were called to a home one day when I was at my pet funeral home in Indianapolis. We were called to a home one day, and it was going to be the euthanasia of Oscar the boxer. So we get there, a veterinarian gets there, we get there. Mommy had talked to Lily. Mommy had talked to Lily about Oscar was going to go to heaven today, okay? So Lily got taken next door while we all came together and helped Oscar transition. So now we bring Oscar back. He's at my pet funeral home. And my stepson says to me, he says, I think we better hold on to Oscar. I just have a feeling Mommy is going to want to come in tomorrow and see Oscar again. So we did. We held on to Oscar. Well, that night I'm having a conversation with Mommy. And I always preface it like this with children, okay? I said, I'm going to give you my personal and professional opinion in regards to Lily coming in tomorrow to say goodbye to Oscar too. She's 4 years old. She doesn't know life without Oscar, okay? So I said, personally, I didn't get to say goodbye to some of my pets. And And I'm good. I'm good with that. I understand it now. Okay. But I sure wish I would have. Professionally, I'll be there. I'll be there to help you. And I'm going to walk Lily through it because you guys are you, mommy and daddy, are trying to deal with your own grief. And I get that. So let me help Lily. Okay. And she says, okay. She says, I'll talk to my husband. And I said, well, I'm just going to share this with you. May happen, may not. But he may say, hey, listen, Lily's fine. We don't need to pull that Band-Aid off again. And so Lily's fine. And I said, he'll probably say that to you. Just a heads up. But it's fine. And she goes, well, what if she cries? I said, well, she will cry. And we're okay with that. Tears are welcome at my place. So then she said to me, you're going to love this. She said, so I've already told Lily that Oscar's gone to heaven. What do we do now? And I said, oh my gosh, I don't know how my brain works sometimes. I said, why don't you go in and tell Lily that you just got off the phone with God and God called to tell you that Oscar, the angels are backed up in wing making. And so Oscar didn't actually get his wings today because they're so backed up. And so she did. And then she called me back, Kathy. And she says, I went in and well, first of all, she said, I told my husband and he said exactly what you said. So she was like, nope, we're taking her in. She needs to see Oscar. She goes in to tell Lily what I just said. And she says, Oscar didn't actually get his wings today. And, so Oscar didn't get his wings today. Lily grabbed her little purse. And she said, good, Mommy, where will we go? Because I didn't get to say goodbye.
Oh, how sweet. How adorable.
Precious. And when she came in, children dose their grief. So what happens is we go in and we cry and we cry and we cry. And then we come out and she wants to go read a book. And then she says, Miss Coleen, can we go in again? I need to see my Oscar again. I said, yes, we will go in again. And you know what I always do with little children? I give them the little sample lipsticks. Like from Clinique or whatever, I give them so they can put it on and kiss. So there's kiss marks all over the head of the animal.
Oh my goodness. So that's their finals.
They see their little precious friend with kiss marks all over, making a transition. So then she says,
how
can
adorable.
I go in again? I say, yes, you can. So we go in again and she cries. And then she says, hey, can we go play with the dog toys? So that's how children do that. And it's beautiful and it's precious and it's organic and it's perfect.
But you have to allow it to happen. Otherwise, you're stifling it. That's beautiful. And Coleen, I hate to say this, but our time is up. You're going to have to come back again. Just absolutely, you're going to have to come back again. Maybe in a couple months. We'll take care of that in a little bit. But before I finally wrap up, I want to turn the mic over to you and let you tell people about your websites and your book. You mentioned you've got a new book out. I want to hear about it. So
well, let's go with this one first because it dovetails right off of what we were just talking. So 2 books on children and pet loss. And that's at foreverfriend.pet, foreverfriend.pet. And co-wrote it with a veterinarian friend of mine, Dr. Mary Gardner. And one book is about the loss of a dog and another one is about the loss of a cat. And they're beautiful to get before the day comes because it talks about a bucket list. It talks about all these things that we can do to get up into the day. And that way our end is perfect. I'm going to make a quick note here. In the kitty cat book, one of the things Mary and I were just giggling to ourselves. We're such little kids ourselves. And we have a little sample memorial service in there, and we wrap up as you do any good memorial service or funeral with food, right? So there's a recipe in there for a kitty litter cake. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it.
Oh, I have to get the book.
I know.
Oh my goodness.
So there's that, and then on my website, 2 Hearts Pet Loss Center, and 2 is spelled out TWO. 2 Hearts Pet Loss Center. Tons of resources on there. My other book, Pet Parents, A Journey Through Unconditional Love and Grief, is on there. The resource I mentioned to you about prepping the body for a visitation, that's on there. Tons of downloadable stuff. Great blogs, tons of stuff on that website too as a resource.
Super. Well, I cannot thank you enough. I have had several aha moments, considerable number of tears. I love your stories. Do you have a book with all of your stories?
You know, my first book, that's the majority of what that book is stories of families. So it's so heartwarming.
Good. Oh, that'll have to be on my shelf as well. I have a special shelf for grief-related books, so that will become another one to add to my collection. For now, we must say farewell, but we will have Coleen back, so keep listening. And remember to take care of yourselves, too. And I can think of a lot of things that were said today that really kind of are connected with self-care, because by doing some of these things for your pet, you're doing them for yourself as well, so that you can have that comfortable feeling in your heart that this animal that gave you unconditional love, that you gave them everything you could. And they deserve to be remembered just like everyone else. They really do, because they're part of our lives and a big part. So until next time, everyone, I will say farewell. Take care of yourselves. Tune in next week as we all continue to live and grieve.
Thank you so much for listening with us today. Do you have a topic that you'd like us to cover, or do you have a question from one of our episodes? Please email us at info@asiliveandgrieve.com and let us know. We hope you will find a moment to leave a review, send an email, and share with others. Join us next time as we continue to live and grieve together.